Hi guys, good evening. This is your Uncensored Pillow Talk, and I am your amazing roast host, because I like to roast things, so I say host and roast. Pajuan Bro, and I'm here with Damon, and he's amazing from New York City, and we are here to talk about PrEP yet again. PrEP. How are you, darling?
Yet again?
No, right?
Are you all prepped out now? Are you all,
Oh my god,
prepped
oh
out?
my god, I'm so prepped. Like, so
Good.
prepped.
Good. Well, then prep is good, but then we can also talk about what this means. Because
What does your shirt mean?
this means you equals you. And what we now know is that if someone is living with HIV and
Yes.
if they're undetectable for a consistent period of 6 months or longer,
Mm-hmm.
they cannot transmit HIV to another person. They humanly cannot give HIV to another human being or to
At
anything.
any point.
At
'Cause
any point.
Any point. So
Once they're undetectable.
all right. So I also heard they call it a myth that if you're undetectable, that they say, okay, you cannot pass HIV, but if the person that you are having unprotected sex with, if that person's immune system is extremely low and their health is very troubled, that the transmission might happen.
That is not scientifically accurate because
Okay.
it has nothing to do with the negative partner. It has all to do with the fact
With the
that
person
somebody
that-
with a suppressed viral load
Okay.
simply cannot transmit HIV, no matter who they're with.
Okay.
So if they're undetectable for 6 months or longer, and this has now been studied and replicated, our CDC finally has acknowledged this. Somebody undetectable cannot transmit HIV when they've been undetectable for 6 months or longer. So when we look at that side of the coin, and then we talk about PrEP, we can see that this is the most exciting time to be a sexual health educator in the last 36 years.
Amen.
Because we have been dealing with death and disease and managing and treating and preventing disease, but now we have all these options to give people tools for experiencing pleasure and sexual intimacy and preventing HIV at the same time.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Amazing. And
Isn't it? I mean, I'm so excited.
Oh my god, it's so cool. And we're also talking about the new trials they're going with the injection
Yes.
for shot. So
Yes.
I know it's a trial, but do you want to elaborate a little bit on it?
Absolutely. So right now, and up until this point, when we've said the word PrEP, we've been using that interchangeably with a pill called Truvada, because right now Truvada is all we have for PrEP.
Yeah.
In the future, when we talk about PrEP, it's going to be like an umbrella term like birth control. Birth control can be so many things that a woman's going to do to choose to protect her body. And in the future, we're going to have different medications, injectables, maybe even lubes that people can use if they're HIV negative.
That is kind
and
of
want
awesome.
to prevent HIV, right? It's going to be like this whole umbrella of options that somebody could use. It won't just be one pill. It's going to be a bunch of options. So the
And-
injectables that there's currently a trial
Yeah.
going on, that's I anticipate, and we anticipate scientifically, that's going to be one of the options available for people who are not living with HIV, who want to prevent HIV.
And if God is big, or the girl upstairs, she's amazing, and if that is cool, 100 years from now, with less and less and less people actually contracting HIV, the whole thing will end.
And I think sooner, I really believe, and this might be me being overly optimistic, but I believe in the next decade, we can see an end
Knock on wood
to
3
this
times.
pandemic in the next decade. And I've been working in the field for 28 years, and we've been throwing around slogans like end the epidemic the whole time, but we never had the resources or the tools to do it until now. And we're already seeing HIV rates drop in certain parts of the U.S. and outside the U.S. So here in San Francisco, I think there were like 200 new infections last year, whereas when I lived here 20 years ago, it was like 2,000 a year.
Correct, yeah.
So now we're seeing in these areas that these interventions really work.
They do. They do.
And part of that, I think, is changing the culture. And it was easier in San Francisco to do this, but changing the culture around sexuality and pleasure, saying that connections with another person are healthy
Yes.
and they're celebratory and they can be done in really smart, responsible ways.
Have you seen an increase of STDs?
If you look at the CDC data, you could see that new cases of gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia were on the rise long before PrEP came around. They've
Yeah.
been on the rise since 2007. And the other thing to keep in mind is that most people in the US who use PrEP are getting tested and treated for STIs
Every 3 months.
3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Now compare that to people who are not connected to healthcare, who are not getting tested,
Yes.
but do carry STIs that are usually asymptomatic, especially if they're in your butt. So
Yeah.
you could have gonorrhea
Yes.
and chlamydia for years and not even know it.
Not even
but
know
you
it,
can
yes.
give it to people. These folks are not being counted or treated. So are there actually more STIs because of PrEP? I don't think so.
Can we use all the things that we have for PrEP into the whole tobacco industry?
Now, the CDC tells us there's 30,000 LGBT-related smoking deaths per year.
And why do you think that is?
Adults. Well, we have much higher rates of smoking in our community, and there's reasons for that. Nicotine is a stimulant like caffeine, and for many people, it helps depression. It helps relax when you're over anxious. Let's face it, if you're at a bar or a club and you feel like you're an outsider, it's so easy to like just go outside and smoke and meet people. So there's a lot of reasons why smoking is much, much higher in the LGBT community. And I'm not saying that's bad, but what I'm saying is that if they stay the way they are, we're going to see 30,000 LGBT-related deaths per year. What I have been wondering and what I put out to the world is, could we use the tools that we've learned to prevent and treat HIV and apply some of those tools to smoking? Meaning, instead of telling people what they must do or should do with their bodies, what if we say, here are the options. If you're smoking and you want to quit, or if you
just
can't
cut
quit,
down a little
or
bit.
just cut down.
Correct.
Here are options that are based in harm reduction, meaning they're not harm elimination, but they're harm reduction, with vaping being the number one of those. Public Health England from England says on their website, this is a government website, they say that 95% less harm will come to you if you vape instead of smoke traditional cigarettes. Because if you vape, you're getting the nicotine. But there's no tobacco, there's no tar, there's no carcinogens. All those things that cause cancer, stroke, heart attack, those are not part of vaping.
And it's so funny because my mom was just I was in Brazil for 3 weeks visiting her, and she was in the hospital for 3 weeks and a half with lung infection, but that came from smoking. And now she has been since January 2nd, she has not smoked a cigarette, but she is substituting the cigarette for eating. And you talk to her a little bit, and she's all like, so she doesn't have a way of going in distress anymore. Because before, she's like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit. And she was like, so she can't have a cigarette anymore. But I'm like, vaping should be she's 82. But,
so if she's tempted to smoke, and if she's going to smoke, maybe vaping would be an alternative to that. Because it could deliver the nicotine to the brain without as much harm. Now, in America, we're not talking about that on a regular basis. But there are options, and I wish more people here knew about these options. People living with HIV, who are otherwise now considered to be generally healthy and have a health expectancy that's no less than someone without HIV, are so much more at risk now of dying from tobacco-related deaths than HIV itself. And why aren't we talking about this as a community? Why aren't we asking these questions as a community? Why aren't we challenging the Board of Supervisors here in San Francisco who are trying to ban vaping products? We have a group on Facebook where we're talking about this called Smoking, Vaping, Heating, Rethinking Nicotine in the LGBTQ Community. This is a very long title, but it's an opportunity for us to look at the science and the research and the data and say, you know what, this is what we know about vaping. There's a lot we don't know. We only have 10 years of research, whereas cigarettes, we have 60 years and beyond of research.
Well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, anything, just send us a little email at pillowtalk@newsupnow.com. Thank you so much. News Up.
Heels up. My ears are clogged from the plane.
Heels up. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, honey. Let's go and have a drink.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love you. See you later. Bye-bye.